What? I'm blocking on that side.
You're just giving it to me.
Like, I'm pushing buttons and nothing happens. Like, again, I'm blocking on the left, but no. I'm done with this game. It just pisses me off. It's not fun.
For Honor is a game that makes me hate giving it a bad rap. The graphics are detailed and beautiful at times. The gameplay is fun, engaging, and challenging. But the bad practices of microtransactions and peer-to-peer connection, bundled with the high skill ceiling, is going to turn away a lot of players and ultimately makes this a forgettable multiplayer experience. Which is a shame, because some of us found the actual gameplay to be really good. The game is focused between 3 factions of knights, samurais, and vikings, all versing each other in hand-to-hand combat. When you start the game, you choose your faction, and as you play through multiplayer matches, which is the main focus of the game and comprises of picking a hero out of 12 and fighting other players or AI, you help your faction fight in the faction war. The faction war is a map of all 3 groups fighting, and at the end of each season, or 3 months, there is a primary winner. But there's also a campaign, which at times has amazing high-tense action set pieces, but non-existent story in the middle, and how overly structured it is, holds it back from being anything more than a glorified tutorial. But that isn't even done well, because at the end of it, you only spend enough time with 3 of the heroes to learn their combos and make them viable in a multiplayer match. The story starts strong, with it giving us an interesting premise of how the Warden, your character, joins the Blackstone Legion, a variant of the Knights group that originally hopes to bring peace to the Knights' home of Ashfeld, but the Warden soon realizes how sinister this group is, thanks to the leader Apollyon. You also play through the Vikings and the Samurais, but it all has the same structure of the hero making peace in their own faction, and then invading another faction's land. It gets boring and repetitive after the first, and even though it adds some interesting mechanics in the last act of the Samurais, it's still too late, with the ending being way too vague to actually mean anything. It feels more like the developers gave up with the story. There still are memorable parts of the campaign, and that is because of the combat. The combat is not just the best part of the campaign, but also the whole game. There are some real high-intense duels and scenarios that are only fun because of the combat. The voice acting isn't anything to write home about either, but something that always works, regardless of the campaign or multiplayer, is the graphics. They are detailed really well and shine the best in the big action sequences, with minions crashing with blood and steel everywhere. These graphics really bring out the brutality of the game, and is more than welcome in a market with graphics and art style usually more focused on color than brutality. This is seen even more in a close-up fight. You can see the detail that has been put into the way armor has dents and shields are half broken with blood and wounds on areas you have actually been struck. I'm surprised people aren't talking about this more, because it is truly quite incredible. But this game is mainly a multiplayer experience. And this is when the game is the best, but also the worst. The combat is amazing and different to every multiplayer game, with it being focused on swords and melee weapons clashing together instead of the stereotypical first-person brawler. The combat involves you picking a hero from many that all have completely different movesets and fighting with them against other players. You have different guard stances that you use with the mouse or the right thumbstick to change and block opponents' move and change it vice versa to hit them. You also have a grab move that breaks their guard, a mixture of light and heavy moves, parrying, and many more abilities that will take you tens of hours to learn from each character. And this is when For Honor is the best. Learning your favorite hero, upgrading them to an ability of your liking, and unleashing them in multiplayer modes. And this is even more fun when you have friends to practice new combos with and really communicate in multiplayer matches. This is what the developers wanted you to play, and when you do play it like that, it is a feeling I haven't felt in a multiplayer match since Overwatch. Although most of the time you'll be pulling your hair out on how much For Honor could be the game that could, because it is so frustrating for too many reasons. Maybe it's because the unboxing system that has you unboxing new gear and upgrading weapons and armor that makes a huge difference in 3 of the 5 multiplayer modes. Which would be okay, as you can upgrade your hero to a specific route, and give them a build different to any other person playing the same hero, which is a smart idea if it weren't for the microtransactions which you can use to buy these boxes. I won't go as far to say it's pay to win, but it's unnecessary and frustrating. Especially when you realize that Ubisoft has not learned at all from their past business practices. If you can get past these microtransactions though, You'll have to get past the terrible connection issues thanks to Ubisoft making this multiplayer focused game have no dedicated servers and run only on peer-to-peer connection. Seriously, how dumb is that? Which basically means that the servers for games are created by players, not by Ubisoft. And while I admit it is better than peer-to-peer connection on other games, there are still plenty of connection issues that will test the love you have for the combat and graphics. Overall, For Honor is a disappointment, and won't last long due to the goldmine of issues it has and letdown of a campaign. That's not to say I didn't have fun with For Honor. When it works well, you'll have so much fun in it, especially if you're playing with friends. But at the moment, these issues can't be ignored, especially when it's a full-price game and I've given it many more than 2 weeks to fix itself, and it still hasn't. But if it ever does get fixed and it seems like you would enjoy this game, then definitely pick it up in the future. Although right now I'm giving For Honor the score of 2.5 out of 5. It's not good, it's not terrible.